a lot recorded, for the next 2 weeks. So I've got a headache, but I'm persevering. Let's grab a drink to start off with because it's a bit warm. Let's grab another Fanta, shall we? Beautiful. So I've had a shave. I've shaved all the shitty little hairs off me. Gin. Anyway, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about Manchester United. I can't get any lower than that. Let me talk about Manchester United. So, I've been speaking to Mackie. Afternoon, Mackie. If you're watching this. Because he said if you're going to do a Manchester United sort of rebuild video, let him know, he'll give me a few suggestions. So, I've looked at Man United, and there's maybe, again, we like to look at about 3 different positions. I look bright red. I wonder if it's just the colour correction, because that looks ridiculously red. Anyway, I like to look at like 3 positions anyway, and so I want to look at 3 positions. 2 of which, well, 1 of which is a definite, and 2 of which are a bit, I think I need to explain them before we can discuss them, sort of things. So, first one, left back. I think that's such an obvious position. It's probably, if I'm being totally honest, there's quite a lot of teams' weak links at the minute. There's not that many out and out world class left backs at the minute, bar maybe Robertson and Alphonso Davies at a push, Tellers and Tagliafico in the minor leagues. You know, it's always been a bit of one of them positions where if you've got an amazing player, you're going to have him for a while. If not, you're going to be searching for a while. So, left back. And then 2 positions in centre back and striker. Now, I'm going to talk about that. Centre back, they've got the likes of Bailey, however you want to pronounce his name. They've got Lindelof, who I quite rate Lindelof. Harry Maguire's done a lot better than when he first started at Man United. He is getting back into the team a bit now. So great options off the bat. But again, very similar to the Chelsea situation, is they have options, but I don't think they're brilliant. Either that or they need... I can't really see the direction the defence is going in terms of ability. I did have right back on here, but only because I looked at their lineup recently, and they had Diego Dalot at right back, and I was like, oh shit, let's pick right back. And then obviously Wan-Bissaka is just as good as any right back out there at the minute anyway, so skip that. And then I put down striker. Now we all know Rashford and Martial and Greenwood can all play striker, but in the same breath, I know that many Man United fans will argue that isn't their best position. You know, Martial, great striker, but also can play left wing. Very similar with Rashford. You'd say that his best position is probably out left or right. Greenwood, we've seen him play on the right, on the left and up front. Very similar to Daniel James. He can play sort of in the middle of the park, but he's preferred on the wings. So I think if Man United are going to be totally honest with themselves, they need an out-and-out striker. They need just one player that can just sit in the middle of the park and do their job. You know, Chelsea now have Abraham, they've got Werner who can, you know, play on the wings anyway. They've got Spurs, have got Harry Kane. Arsenal have got Lacazette and Aubameyang, although Aubameyang's been playing on the wing. And Liverpool, you know, you've got that Firmino who plays that central role really well. So I think it is just an area for Man United where you can't just keep buying these players that can play left wing, right wing striker. They need to get an out-and-out goal-scoring striker. And I've picked out some good options. Anyway, left back. Who are we going to start with? Mackie said to me, it might be a bit left field, but Theo Hernandez. I know he's recently signed for AC Milan. He signed from Real Madrid after the last World Cup. But his value's gone down a little bit recently. And I think if anything, AC Milan aren't the team they once were. And so, signing a player from AC Milan isn't the hardest thing to do in the world. I initially thought his value was like 40, 50, maybe even 60 a push million pounds. It's down at 30 million on transfer market. So I think if anything, that is a brilliant option. You know, you are looking at spending maybe into that 40, 50 million pound region at a push. His wages may be a little higher than you're willing to pay, but Luke Shaw isn't a great option. I do respect Brandon Williams as a player. I think that he's got a bright future ahead. But if you're being blatantly honest, it's not like you go, who's been in your team of the season? Brandon Williams at left. It's not going to happen. They need to invest in quality players, and then their youth can come in and take the spots or have brilliant backup options. It's key for the likes of Man United and them top teams anyway. So Theo Hernandez is my option there. 30 plus million I've put. He's a great player. We all know he is French. Links to Pogba. He definitely played alongside Pogba at the World Cup. And so I just think he's a great option, you know, all in all. And now centre back, I've got two options, and I'll explain them both in detail. The first one is a guy called Mohamed Salisu. Now he currently plays for Valladolid, Celta Vigo, something like that. It's one of the Spanish. It's a Spanish team. They play in like a purple striped kit. He was brought to my attention from Mackie. He said to me, "Look, this guy's been on Man United's radar recently. There's a big like positive rumour that we're signing this guy." And I was like, "I don't know who he is. Don't know if he's any good." Very young player. Like I said, they've got the likes of Bailly and Lindelof anyway, and Harry Maguire. So it might be worth them buying like a younger player that in a season or two follow the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sort of future sort of vision, and sign someone that not necessarily goes straight into the squad after they've signed the likes of Maguire, but maybe a player that in 2 to 3 years could be a very excellent option. Now, one of the main reasons they link with him is because he's only got a £10 million release clause, which I think, for a player that's what I've read up on, is relatively highly rated. I've never heard of this guy, I'm not going to lie to you. But from what I've read, and from what I've seen, and from all the reports, he looks like an excellent youth player. He just looks like Tomori if he'd come through the Premier League, but he hasn't. He's come through La Liga. So, you know, that's a very decent option. But on the side of that, a player that's actually, after I've written this down, today been linked with Chelsea is David Alaba, which I'd happily have him at Chelsea. I rate Alaba. I think over the past sort of 5 or 6 years, Alaba has definitely been one of my favourite players, mainly because there hasn't been that many left backs out there that have been excellent. But Alaba's been one of those that have really stood out. And then when needed, he drops into centre back, which is why, I mean, over the past season or two, I think he's played a lot more centre back games than he's ever played at left back. So he's been reported to be on Man United's radar as a centre back. But again, another one of those that can play left back. And I think that's very versatile now. I'd love him at Chelsea. I think he'd be a great centre back option at Chelsea. I think he'd be a great left back option at Chelsea. I think he goes straight into the side, regardless of what position you want to play him. Similarly, he does the same at Man United. Once you've brought him to the club, I think he does play either centre back or left back. More than likely left back without Man United set up, or a 3 at the back. You have Brandon Williams playing left wing back. You have Wan-Bissaka playing wing back. And then you have the likes of Maguire in the middle, maybe Lindelof and Alaba either side. I think that's a great choice. And to be fair, that would be a very good defence. You know, you can have like your Pogba and your McTominay in the middle, Bruno Fernandes playing as like more of a cam, then you have like either a CDM in the likes of Matic, and then 2 strikers, or you could have your wingers and a striker. But It's part and parcel of the game. You know, pick whatever formations they want, won't they? But yeah, Alaba's rated at about 50 million pounds. So another big spend in terms of Man United's money pot. Not that they've got a lot of it, but if they're looking to offload certain players, you know, they're looking to get rid of the likes of Luke Shaw's, and I don't know who else has been really, really bad recently. Not many of them, to be fair. They've been relatively okay after the restart. But like I said, 50 million is still a lot of money for them to spend. Now the last two options are Aubameyang and Raul Jimenez, and I'll talk about them. I think I'm probably going to mention Aubameyang for any of the teams that we do, mainly because his future at Arsenal is still in doubt. A player like Aubameyang, number one, won't want to be playing outside of the Champions League, let alone Europa League. So for a team like Arsenal, I can't see him wanting to sign a new contract, which means his value will have depreciated by now. Yes, he's getting into that 31-year-old mark. In fact, I think was it his birthday the other day? Could have been. But it's Aubameyang. He's a great striker. He offers any of the top teams, you know, something. He's certainly not bad by any stretch of the imagination, and you know, can play striker and right wing. And I just think he'd be a great suit at Man United. It's been a long while where they've sort of used slower strikers that haven't quite fit in. You know, the likes of Lukaku, although he did relatively well in comparison to his stats. But you've got the likes of Igalo now. Not the fastest of strikers, not slow by any stretch, but you know, not like out and out pace like Aubameyang possesses. And I just think you've put the Rashfords up front and you've put the Martials up front that have pace, and they haven't quite worked because they weren't strikers. They looked good, they didn't look great. Aubameyang could fill that void very well. However, if we are looking to do that, the whole not having the most pace but being more clinical, you know, wingers have pace, wide players have pace. You want your cams to have a little bit of pace about them, you know, to dodge in and out of defenders. So our striking needs to be a lot more clinical, needs to be a lot more upstanding and quite strong, but still, you know, possess relative pace. Is the likes of Raul Jimenez. Now, obviously, I don't know how much Aubameyang's probably worth at the minute. I don't think it's even worth looking, because it'll be a case of whether he signs a contract or not, whether they put a release clause in that. But Raul Jimenez, outside of that, I can see him, especially if Man United finish above Wolves. If Man United finish in the Champions League spots and Wolves don't, then I can see Raul Jimenez, you know, jumping ship and moving up. Because although Wolves have been getting better and better and better every season, there may come a point where their better players have to sort of move on to get to the higher spots. You know, they're moving into Europa, they're moving into Champions League sort of territory, but they're not moving in terms of like the league or FA Cup sort of territory. And their bigger players are gonna win. They're gonna want to win medals, and they're gonna want to win trophies. The only issue with this transfer is that reportedly, Jimenez's value, not necessarily value, but his transfer fee is anywhere upwards of 70 million. I'm not too sure about that. If I'm being totally honest, I'm not. I don't think I'd pay 50 at a push. Let's check his goals, because I don't know how many goals he scored this season. Chelsea have just beat Leicester, by the way. Jimenez. Oh, he's issued a promise to Wolves. That was this morning, so I don't know. So he signed from Benfica to Wolves for 34 million. His value now is only 36. But apparently he's been offered. Apparently there's been an offer of like 70 million-ish upwards. I mean, in total of 47 games this season, he scored 24 goals, got 10 assists, and there's been a goal or assist every 158 minutes. No, a goal every 158 minutes. If I'm being totally, that's not too bad. It's not the worst record I've ever seen from a striker. It's done very well. He scored 3 in 7 in the Europa League. He scored 6 in 6 in Europa League qualifying. Hasn't scored in the FA Cup, but he's got 15 goals this season, which is okay. I mean, I've seen worse. He's actually been very, very excellent. You can't go wrong with that, can you? It's been very. That's very respectable, to be fair. So I can see him doing okay. And he's only he is 29. So again, he's one of these that's aging a little bit, heading towards that 30 mark. Let's have a look at Aubameyang's actual. Look at Aubameyang's market value. He's 31 now. Market value is 50 million. So they're either going to have to spend a lot. I mean, his market value is 50 million. But when Arsenal signed him, it was 58. That was in 2017-18. We're moving into 2021. He's been there like 3 or 4 years already. But yeah, so it's just one of them things where he may or may not go. We're not too sure. He might stay at Arsenal. Jimenez, I think, is a relatively okay option. I just think they might want to go for a more youthful player. But another good... another one that Mackie mentioned was Haaland. Obviously, we all know Haaland at the minute is absolutely killing it. In fact... let's look at Haaland's Dortmund contract. So they signed him for 22.5 million. How they got him for that, I've got no idea. That is so cheap for a striker like Haaland. Are you mad? But Man United have been interested in him, obviously. Dortmund nicked him before Man United got in there and signed the deal. It doesn't say his contract because... to be fair, Dortmund have put a... What was that? Dortmund have got a £60 million contract... release clause in Haaland's contract. So look, if you're going to pay 50 plus million for the likes of Aubameyang, if you're looking at paying 70 plus million for Jimenez, you might as well try and at least speak to Haaland at the end of the season, or maybe in a year and a half, and say, look, Haaland, we're Man United. But then again, Man United have to give him a reason to go. You know, they have to be securing those Champions League, Europa League positions. So, hey, it's not too bad. According to the thingy, the contract that contains a 60 million release clause and Dortmund had to go against club policy and agreed to that, as it was seen as the only way to get a deal over the line. So I assume Dortmund don't like... In recent years, Dortmund have avoided putting release clause in contracts as they've been forced to part with some of their most influential names. Sahin went to Madrid. Mario Götze went to Bayern Munich for 37 in 2013. And they haven't put a release clause in it since, but I assume Haaland's been... However, they had to agree to grant Haaland 6 million clause, as otherwise the transfer would not have been possible with the player's representative. Oh no, I've just clocked on. You guys have probably already commented it. Yeah, he's not going to Man United. Haaland isn't. You've got Mino Raiola as his agent, and he's vowed never to send the player back to Man United again. He had Mkhitaryan, he's gone straight back to Arsenal, and now he's back at Roma. Paul Pogba, obviously not liking his time at Man. You know, he's had his ups and downs at Man United with the whole Raiola saying, "I'm never sending a guy back to Man United again." He's had Zlatan Ibrahimovic, went to Man United. De Ligt, who was on the verge of going to Man United, went to Juventus. Mario Balotelli went to Man City. Donnarumma still at AC Milan. So there is links there to Man United. So I suppose it could be made happen if Raiola agrees it and allows him to go to Man United, but it'll be one of those. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this. These have been my options, you know, the likes of Theo Hernandez and Alaba and Aubameyang, Jimenez, and then that Mohamed Salisu guy, which I'm going to have to take another quick look at because he looks like a very, very great up-and-coming player. Let me quickly, actually, Salisu, just so I can read this off to you guys. He's 21 years old, so he's younger than me. Cheers. He played for Valladolid, that is it, Real Valladolid, I think I mentioned that. He's comparable to the likes of Juan Foyth from the Spurs, we all know him. Ben Godfrey from Norwich. Todibo from Schalke. Twanzebe from Man United. These are just the comparable players to sort of him. Alvarez from Ajax. You know, some sort of players anyway. He's played 30 games in La Liga this year. He's scored a goal and got an assist. So, fair enough from a centre-back. That's better than you can ever hope. His value's gone in a year from 2.2 million up to already 10 million. So, I mean, I assume that's his release clause now. So, yeah. That's pretty... It seems pretty influential, to be fair. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed.